So earlier today, we talked about how Juan Soto was traded to the Padres in one of the biggest trades in Major League Baseball history, and the Padres were not done. They traded for another guy, which was huge. We'll talk about that in just a second. But aside from the Padres, there were 15 other trades that went down since the Soto trade, so we're going to break them all down right now. Joey Gallo, my friend, got traded. The Braves have made a few moves that made them even more strong. We have the Yankees making a very perplexing trade, and then also a former #1 overall pick is on the move, as well as the Angels. Yeah, they're clearing the house right now. They're trading everyone, not named Ohtani. And a guy named Michael Trout, but yeah, he's not going to get traded anytime soon. So without further ado, make sure you guys use code Fuzzy on SeatGeek if you're going to any games anytime soon, and hit that subscribe button if you have not. The first thing I want to do is I want to kind of put a bow on the Juan Soto trade, because Eric Hosmer, of course, he rejected the trade, and the guy that they replaced, Luke Voit. So Luke Voit is going to the Washington Nationals. He is going to be the final player in that huge trade that the Padres and the Nationals made earlier today. So Luke Voit, he must not like Eric Hosmer, because he was replaced by Hosmer, because Hosmer had every right to. He had that in his contract. And also, I just want to update you guys that Eric Hosmer was in fact dealt, so he is going to the Boston Red Sox. So he just did not want to go to a losing team and be surrounded by a bunch of young kids, because I really feel like the Nationals are setting themselves up to be pretty good in the next few seasons. But Eric Hosmer, he wants to win right now. I just don't know if Boston is the place to do that, because I don't know if the Red Sox were buyers or sellers at the deadline. And I say that because they also acquired Tommy Pham. I think that was last night. So they traded for Eric Hosmer. They picked up Tommy Pham. So you would think that, yeah, the Boston Red Sox are trying to keep up with the Jays and even the Orioles, along with the Yankees and every other team in that division. But then you look at their other trades. They gave Christian Vasquez to the Astros, and also they traded away Jake Diekman to the Chicago White Sox. So it's very, very confusing as to what the plan is in terms of what the Red Sox are going to be doing going forward. So if you're a Boston fan, let me know in the comments, what do you make of all of these trades? So you picked up Eric Hosmer and Tommy Pham, but you traded away Christian Vasquez and Jake Diekman, and also in return for Jake Diekman, you got Reese McGuire. Now, on the subject of Christian Vasquez, he was traded to the Astros. The Astros also picked up Will Smith. So Will Smith, who was Mariano Rivera in the postseason last year for the Braves, he is going to the Astros, and they desperately needed a lefty in that bullpen. So that is a huge W for the Astros. So the Astros got Trey Mancini, they got Will Smith and Christian Vasquez. To me, that is a very solid deadline, but it wasn't better than the Padres, the Yankees, or the Twins. Now, the reason why the Yankees and the Twins and all of those different teams can't compete with the Padres is because, one, the Padres got Juan Soto, a generational type talent, to be inserted in the same lineup as Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado. Trent Grisham is finally looking like Trent Grisham. I think he hit a home run as soon as I was recording this second video. But they also picked up Brandon Drury of the Reds. Drury, I mean, you can make an argument that he got snubbed from the All-Star team. He is easily having the best season of his career. So the Padres have traded for Josh Bell, having the best season of his career. Brandon Drury having the best season of his career, along with Josh Hader and Juan Soto. I don't know if you can make any other argument for any other GM having a better deadline than AJ Preller at the 2022 MLB trade deadline. All of those players that we just talked about are star players, at least for 2022's sake, and they are going to make a massive impact for the Padres going forward. But I would say the Twins and the Yankees probably had the second best off seasons. Now let's talk about why the Twins are much improved, even though they didn't really add too many superstar players. But I do consider Tyler Mahle a future superstar. So they picked him up from the Reds. The Reds, I just want to give them some credit. I'm not going to talk about every single player involved in every single trade, because that's going to take way too long. I'm not going to break it down 100%. But the Reds did a great job at retooling for the future. The Pham trade and the Tyler Mahle trade, I really feel like they could be good in the next few seasons if they play the offseason right and sign the correct players. But aside from that, the Twins, they get Tyler Mahle for the rotation, and they bolstered their bullpen. So the next time that they face the Cleveland Guardians, Emilio Pagan, who is the Cleveland MVP this year, he will not be closing out those games. Jorge Lopez of the Baltimore Orioles, yeah, the Orioles got a haul for Jorge, so he is going to be their new closer. Or maybe it's Michael Fulmer. Michael Fulmer of the Tigers has been incredible this year, and we'll talk about the Tigers in just a second, because they also made another trade. But again, the Twins, they get Jorge Lopez and Michael Fulmer to shore up that bullpen. Easily one of the better additions in baseball, considering the holes that they had. And also they get Tyler Mahle, who is going to fit in very nicely with the guys that they already have in place with Sonny Gray and Joe Ryan. Now, I mentioned that the Tigers made another trade. They traded Robbie Grossman, the switch hitter. He is going to the Atlanta Braves. I fully expect expect him to be a platoon guy with Eddie Rosario in left field and Marcell Ozuna, although I think Ozuna is the DH. So Robbie Grossman, he has been decent against lefties this year and not very good against righties. So again, I expect that platoon to be in place. Now, the Braves also filled in the hole that was left by Will Smith. They traded for Raisel Iglesias, so the Braves are going to be picking up his contract, which is not very good in my opinion. Iggy has not been good this year, so I just want to make sure I put that out there. He was very good in 2021, borderline special last year. I thought that he was going to be able to kind of find a resurgence. He was good for the Reds, and then he kind of fell off. He was amazing for the Angels, and then he fell off. So I considered the Braves to have a B to B plus trade deadline. I would have rather had Jock Peterson, but the Giants, they are big time losers because they did not trade away Carlos Rodon or Jock Peterson. I don't know what they're doing. They're not going to be able to compete with any team in the National League that is going for a wild card or a division title. Makes no sense. Now we have to talk about the Phillies because they made a ton of moves and splashes were made. Brandon Marsh, one of the more highly touted prospects of the last few years, he was traded from the Angels to the Phillies in exchange for the Phillies' #1 catching prospect, Logan O'Hoppe, and Logan has been raking as a catcher. He is now going to be the #1 prospect for the Angels, so I guess that kind of works out for Anaheim. The reason why I say that is because they traded Brandon Marsh, who is one of their better outfielders. I say one of their better outfielders because they don't really have very many good players in my opinion. So Brandon Marsh is going to the Phillies, and they're actually going to be able to fill that hole left by Marsh by the #1 overall pick. I think it was back in 2016, 17. I don't remember the exact draft, but Mickey Moniak was the #1 overall pick. He has been I don't know if I want to say bust, but he has been a bust for the Phillies. He's kind of the definition of a 4A player. He is going to be filling in the hole left behind by Brandon Marsh, so it's kind of a wash at that point. But you also are picking up Noah Syndergaard in the process of trading away Mickey Moniak, so hopefully I'm not confusing you guys. So Brandon Marsh is going to the Phillies in exchange for Logan O'Hoppe. So a lot of Phillies fans are considering that to be an overpay, but you get Brandon Marsh. He's going to be a fantastic defender in center field, and maybe with the idea of making the playoffs, he might have a bounce back second half because Brandon Marsh was fantastic for the first month and a half, and then he really fell off. Getting Noah Syndergaard is a big time move for that Phillies rotation, and then they also bolstered that bullpen by trading for David Robertson, who was on the Phillies a few years ago, but injuries got in the way, and then he just kind of faded away, and then he ended up on the Cubs, so this is kind of a return to home moment for David Robertson. So that kind of sums it up for the Angels. So they get the former #1 overall pick Mickey Moniak, and they also get Logan O'Hoppe, who was the #1 catching prospect for the Phillies, and then the Phillies are getting Brandon Marsh, David Robertson, and Noah Syndergaard. So that wraps it up for the Phillies as well as the Angels. Now we have to talk about another LA team, my friend Joey Gallo. That is the last time I can say my friend when he was a member of the Yankees. So there you go. Joey Gallo is going to the Dodgers. That is kind of addition by subtraction if you are a Yankees fan, because whether he's my friend or not, I do have to admit that Joey, he knows he was not good for the Yankees. I mean, it got so bad that he did not leave his apartment. He lived in Manhattan, and this interview came out. I kind of feel bad. It was almost more of a therapy session as opposed to an interview, his exit interview. Joey knew that he was going to get traded. I mean, honestly, he was clearing out his locker and packing up his stuff for the last few days, so he knew that his moment had come to an end, and he was saying that Yankees fans are relentless and that he pretty much can't show his face ever again in New York, and that sucks because he grew up as a Yankees fan. Now, speaking of the Yankees, they kind of replaced Joey Gallo, but not really. They traded Jordan Montgomery, one of their more reliable, if you can even say that, starters dating back to 2021. They traded him to the Cardinals in exchange for Harrison Bader, and that doesn't make sense because Harrison Bader has been dealing with plantar fasciitis. He has not played since June 26th, so it's not like he's going to be inserted into that lineup. And also, the Yankees do have a guy, Estevan Florial. He's not been the best this year. He's 0 for 11, but he has basically been a god at AAA. I think he has a high ceiling, but Harrison Bader is going to the Yankees in exchange for Jordan Montgomery. So the Cardinals, they pick up two different lefties, Jordan Montgomery and Jose Quintana. They are trying to stay afloat in that division with the Brewers. I know it's not Carlos Rodon, but I do like these pickups, and I do believe that the Cardinals are better today than when they were when they first woke up. All right, so let's talk about the Blue Jays because they made a plethora of deals to try and fill in the holes. Although they weren't superstars, they did in fact get better in my opinion. They picked up Mitch White of the Dodgers. He has been very good this year. Mitchell White is his full name. He could be a long reliever or he can fit in nicely in the rotation. They also picked up Whit Merrifield, which is funny because earlier in the day I tweeted, why do the Royals still have Whit Merrifield? Why has he not been traded yet? And they waited way too long. They basically got nothing for Whit Merrifield because they should have traded him last year and the year before and the year before that, but they didn't. The Blue Jays get Mitch White, Whit Merrifield, and then in the same trade with the Marlins, they picked up two different bullpen pieces. They get Anthony Bass, who has been throwing frisbees all year long. He has been incredible, so that is a plus addition for the Jays because they need bullpen help. And also they get Zach Pop. Now last but not least, the only other trades that I can think of that kind of held some merit, the Mets, they made a few splashes. They have finally traded away JD Davis, so they kept Dominic Smith. They got Darren Ruff of the Mets. Darren Ruff has been very impressive over the last few seasons, but a lot of people don't talk about him because he's not very exciting. He just kind of shows up to work, he does his job, and then he goes home. They also picked up Michael Givens, who has been sensational this year, so the Mets don't make too many splashes. They're confident in the team that they have assembled dating back to the offseason. So Darren Ruff and Michael Givens, that kind of wraps it up for today's video. So thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully I did a good job at recapping everything. I know I didn't talk a huge amount of stats or players going back to the other teams because there's a lot of prospects that you guys have never heard of. Too much research. Maybe if I do a full trade deadline breakdown, I'll try and be more accurate, or I'll try and be more in-depth when breaking down these trades. But thank you guys for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you learned something new, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow for yet another MLB recap.